Okay, back with Sammy Verni. His first film, Low Down Larry Conquers the Moon Men. So basically, we showed a sequel, The Giant Reptile. They went back in time to try to capture a dinosaur. This one, your team is going to the moon, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, trying to be the first to set foot and paw on the moon. Yes, Larry and Spike.
Foot and paw on the moon. Because I guess there hasn't been a dog on the moon yet.
I guess not. Yeah, so that was the whole idea was to be for Larry and Spike to beat the astronauts on Moon Day on July 20th, 1969.
So how many films have you made of this series?
I've made two. This one was the first one, and this one actually it was done about 5 years ago. So I can't believe it's been that long since I finished it. And then the second one came out just this year. But yeah, it's been 5 years since this one came out.
And then this one, we showed the second one to our festival. Then you're like, oh, I'm assuming, oh, I like the concept. And then you asked it, then you go, could I submit the first one? I'm like, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
because the film's this film did well in the festival circuit, and then the second one has done well too. It's like it's played at a ton of festivals. People seem to like it. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, the whole idea behind this series was, sort of like trying to recapture my youth in a way. It's based on a comic strip series I used to draw when I was about 10 years old.
It's amazing.
And yeah, I had the idea, some time ago to just take that, translate it to film. And I've always been interested in stop motion and animation. So I thought it just kind of works. I think it just kind of works well. These characters, kind of in stop motion. So yeah.
And how many scripts have you written of the series so far?
So these are two. Obviously, I have an idea for a third one. It's going to be called Lowdown Larry Meets the Deep Sea Dwellers. So
Okay.
you kind of get an idea about what that could possibly be about. So it'll take place under the water, and it'll be basically a treasure hunt and trying to find the lost treasure. And once again, Larry is trying to be the first to find this treasure. And judging by the first two movies, he's probably not going to go too well for him.
So we know there's a moon. We know there's dinosaurs. Does this treasure exist in real life, or like
It,
there's a legend of it?
so apparently, I'm sure you've heard of Blackbeard the pirate.
Okay.
So he actually he was killed a long time ago, obviously in the like 1700s, and his treasure, his ship sank, and his legendary treasure, has never been found, and people are still looking for it to this day. They're still, it's off the coast of I think the Bahamas, I think, or somewhere in the Caribbean, and they still have teams of people going down, and they have like submersibles, and they have submarines, whatever, going down looking for it, and it's apparently it's worth a lot of money, and it's all this gold down there at the bottom of the ocean, and no one's found it yet. So
I'm
I thought
surprised there
that
hasn't been
probably,
a Hollywood movie made about this. They love this stuff, this kind of stuff.
I there hasn't, as far as I know, there has not been like an official movie
Yeah.
made about Blackbeard's treasure. I kind of looked into it a little bit, just kind of want to make sure, I wasn't like, I was trying to be a little original, and coming up with sort of a MacGuffin for this.
Yeah.
And so far, there really hasn't been too much about it. I mean, so yeah.
So okay, so you said you've been started doing this when you were 10 years old. You started doing the comic when you were 10 years old. So tell us about that. You obviously, I'm assuming you like drawing, you like creating, you liked art.
Yeah,
When do you remember when you came up with this idea for these characters?
yeah, honestly, I mean, this is going on now 40 plus years ago, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I've always been interested in art and drawing, and it might have just started as like a kind of a doodle. I might have been in school and just kind of drawing a character. I mean, the character of Larry, when you see the movies, definitely resembles the author. So there's definitely a connection there between him and me, as far as looks and I guess personality, and this sort of like I guess the whole idea of Larry is that he's kind of this kind of low down character that he never gets the prize, he never gets what he's trying to get, and also the idea is that when you see the first two movies, when he's on the moon and when he's back in time, there's always sort of like something going on in the background behind him, and there's always everyone, the audience kind of sees that there are other characters watching him, and they're kind of in on the joke and he's not, for a while. And I always thought that's kind of like a funny idea to have the characters sort of like be kind of hapless and helpless, just kind of like, oh, what's going on, and oh, there's this big story going on behind him, and he's sort of like oblivious to it. So
Well, I the first thing I thought was like Larry's a pretty handsome guy. Now that I know that it's based on you, so that makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. When I was asking the people who, the sculptors, they were like, I kind of drew a quick sketch of what the character, the comic strip character that I had drawn, and it's definitely, kind of rough. I look back at it now, and it's not really very sophisticated. But their idea was, oh, it's you, so I'm just going to make you. I'm like, okay, that's just do that, fine.
but it's almost like a contradiction in a sense because they got to the moon, but they're hapless, right? So
The idea is right. I mean, obviously, technologically, the
yeah,
guy knows what he's doing. They get up there, he plants his flag, and lo and behold, there's not only have the astronauts already beat him, but there's an invading Martian army that beat the astronauts. So you kind of
yeah.
got the two levels of things, three levels of things going on, where everyone thinks they're the first, and it's no one really knows the whole story.
Yeah, and obviously there's a conspiracy that they never really went on the moon too, right? So
There is, but we know Larry went on the moon, so we know at least he went there. So
yeah.
I can vouch for him. So he and
So
Spike went
then
on
where's the aliens from? What planet are they from?
Mars.
Oh, so there's life on Mars then.
Well, this is going. Remember, this is supposed to take place in the '60s. It's
Yeah,
kind of like based on '50s and '60s sci-fi.
yeah,
You got the saucers, flying saucers. Literally, the little green men. That's what you're seeing in the film with the bubble, helmets on. And I kind of wanted to keep it, sort of like adhere to what the tradition was in the '50s of Martians. It's always Martians, invading Martians,
yeah.
invaders from Mars kind of thing. So yeah,
And they're evading. They're like they're trying to look for something on the moon on Earth's moon. How many moons does Mars have? I think they have a few moons, don't
two,
they? They
two.
have
They
two.
have
Yeah.
two. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
So
yeah.
no, I was gonna say that it's a great film. It's 4 minutes. It's so much fun. It's for everybody. It's like it's got that universal appeal. Kids can watch it. They'll get a different mixture. They don't have to know the history, right?
No,
But then
no.
people of our generation, we have context of what you're trying to say, like the people on the moon. So there's a lot of fun, right? There's a lot of fun with the film.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, in with the festivals that it does have like an appeal to kids. And when I submitted the second film to the Brooklyn Film Festival, and the kids film fest there accepted it and wanted to show it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, kids, this is like," and it won the award for the audience award for kids. And I'm like, "Wow, that's great." I never really thought about that when I was making the movies, but I
Yeah.
guess since it kind of comes from a place of when I was a kid, I guess it kind of translates into that. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm happy that that all generations can enjoy it.
Well, kids love space, right? And they love adventure. So that there's that context, right?
They love
That
space. They
yeah.
love dinosaurs. They love pirates. So yeah, I mean, this is all from the recesses of my 10-year-old brain, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's all like a kind of that adventure, kind of like going to see the world and exploring, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we I see the stockings and the video feed, so I'm assuming you have kids. So what do your kids think about you playing with like clay, I guess, and building clay
Well,
for
they,
film?
they they like it. I mean, I had them. I mean, they were a little too young to work on the first one, but on the one with the dinosaurs, they definitely helped out. My older daughter is, I mean, they're both artists, but the older one actually is really into art, and she actually in the second movie, she actually did the drawing of Larry in the newspaper, and my other daughter did a little reptile in the background, a drawing of a reptile. So I definitely want to include them. They really were very enthusiastic about working on it, and now that they're now one is going to be 13 and one's just turned 10. For the next film, they're both like, "Oh, daddy, I really, really want to do a lot more on this film. I really want to work
Yeah.
on this." And obviously, Clay, they like working with Clay too. So yeah, so whenever I can get them, whatever I can get for them to do, they want to do. They'll be happy to help.
So do you think that they're going to make their own film one day?
They kind of have already. I mean, the older one has done some little stop motion in her day. I don't know if she's gonna. She's not really as into film. She's a little more into fine arts. So I'm not really sure she's getting into filmmaking. But you never know. I mean, it's sort of like there's a lot of kind of crossover there. In interest. So it's possible.
So I love the little small touches in your film, like even the chess set on the spaceship, like even the way the Earth is, like in the when they're on the moon. It's like all these little small little touches that you have, and this is stop motion, so this takes time this takes energy, right? Like this is not like even the
Yeah.
car in the front of the house, like you had to build that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had a team help me with it, but yeah, I mean, it's very labor intensive, building all that. I mean, that the house it's a doll house that someone named Bonnie Benton who worked with me, she built it, and I was like, I'm not really into those kind of like meticulous kind of details when it comes to the whole thing. So I was like, please, help. I need help with this, and she helped, and she did a really good job. And the same people who worked on the second one worked on this one, Tasso and Tana, and my friend Leonardo. So they did all the puppets, they did the backgrounds, and I think they did a fantastic job. I mean, that's like one of the things I think that really sells the series is the props and is the
Yeah.
backgrounds. And I mean, yeah, I really couldn't have done it without them, and I'm very happy that I have such a great team helping me.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like even like you got the city lab. It's like a 2 second shot, right?
Yeah,
Of the
that was actually yeah, that was a model. That's actually a model of Manhattan. That one I'll take credit for that one. That one I actually put together myself. And it's like they call it a 4D model, 4D puzzle.
yeah.
So it's basically it's a puzzle. It's the borough of Manhattan, but it came with hundreds of buildings, hundreds of little miniature buildings. And I remember thinking that it was actually since the movie takes place in 1969, that a lot of the buildings that they included with the puzzle would not have been around in 1969. So I was like, all right, well, there was no World Trade Center in 1969. There was
No.
no like buildings that I would know wouldn't have been there. So I made sure like I don't want to include those. So I try to keep it as accurate as possible.
Yeah, well that's for the different audience, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like in
someone might be like, "Oh, well, there was no MetLife building in 1969 in Manhattan. Why is that one in the background there?" Yeah, so
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And so like ideally, like I was watching just the other day, like 2 days ago, I was watching Shaun the Sheep, right?
yes,
And they have these little vignette and they have like these 5 6 minute episodes and they're clever and they're smart and there's different tones in each episode. And so I'm watching your film this morning, I'm like, this is a TV show, right? This is what I'm seeing. I'm like, I can see this so many episodes because there's so many ways, so many places that they can go and explore. You can
I
have an extended family, he could be married, who knows, right? So there's a show here.
yeah. I mean, the idea is, I mean, I have two of them now, done, and obviously you've seen two, and you guys have shown two on the festival. So the idea now is, I think, to try to like get people. Now that I have more than just one, I could say, okay, I kind of
Yeah.
shop around and say, look, here is actually the potential for a series. Here's two done already. I have an idea for at least one more, and yeah, I mean, maybe I try to get it shown somewhere. I mean, obviously, other than festivals, and yeah, maybe if someone would pick it up and say, hey, that's a great idea. We'd like to produce it for you, and I'd be like, that'd be great. So yeah,
Because there's something clever about this stop motion style, right? Like it stands a test of time. Like these Disney animation shows, they're okay, they're clever, right? But this stands the test of time. Like people can watch this, and also there's the adult tie-in too, right? Where there's things that we, like you said, like to go back, like there's things that we get, right? But then the kids don't get it, but we can watch it with a different set of eyes. There's a certain artistic like, there's something brilliant about that. Like
yeah,
basically
yeah.
different generations can watch it.
Yeah, I mean I think that's the ideal is for it to appeal. But that's true of like things like even like Pixar films too. The best
Yeah.
animated films are the ones that cross over.
Yeah.
The ones that are like, oh yeah, the kids like it. It's a lot of a lot of sound, a lot of color, a lot of noise. But the parents are bored senseless, right? But the ones that do transcend, the genre, transcend the generations, are the ones the parents like. Oh yeah, that's a reference I get, and that resonates with me, and the kids are still entertained, but the parents obviously are entertained on a different level. So I think that hopefully that's where this my films kind of fit into that. So
But it's got the technology, if we want to call it that, of stop motion there's a timeless appeal to it. So a lot of times the 3D animation changes through time. Things would, you know what I mean? But this has got this, it's there for present, but it's also there 50 years from now.
I
We
think
can,
there's a real reality to it. I think that
yeah,
when you look at something that's stop motion, when you look at a model, your eye really can't be fooled. You know that it's real. No matter how good a CG character is. There's something about it. It's the lighting. It's it's the weight of it, when it's moving, you can kind of tell that it's not there, no matter how good it is. And believe me, I'm definitely a big fan of, CG dinosaurs in Jurassic Park or whatever. Like I was a big
Yeah.
fan of that. And it, in a lot of ways, it was definitely revolutionary. But there's something about stop motion. And I mean, now Christmas time too, I see going back all the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all the Rankin Bass cartoon, stop
Yeah.
motion cartoons. And I'm like, yeah, it definitely, you're right. It definitely, I mean, we're still watching 50 years later and it still holds up. So there is something about,
Watch Rudolph every year, every single year, right?
yeah, we watched it with my kids about a week ago. And, cause it's always on around it's always on TV around my birthday. Cause that's
Yeah.
when it was first broadcast in 1964. So this is the 60th anniversary this year. So I'm like, oh, you know what? It'll be fun. We'll actually watch it like, the same time that it broadcast 60 years ago. And we did that. So it was kind of a cool thing on TV.
It is, and listen, I'm like, let's assume that nobody's alive who was a part of that film, but 60 years, like it's still they're there, they're there forever, and they're gonna watch it. Kids are gonna watch that 40 years from now,
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
because it's timeless. It's like, yeah, I got that in the PVR. I got to watch that before Christmas is over.
Yeah. There's a whole
Christmas.
bunch of them. There's The Year Without a Santa Claus. There's Santa Claus is Coming to Town. All of those Rankin
Yeah.
Bass ones they're so good. The one with Heat Miser and Snow Miser, and it's brilliant. I could watch that. Even when it's not Christmas time.
Have you submitted to like other, like I see it's obviously in Canada, United States, I see United Kingdom. Have you tried to submit it to other countries?
Yep. Yep. I actually have a few. There's one. I think it's called the Murata Film Festival in Mexico. It's we're going to see pretty soon, and if it made it into that, there's there's a few more too. I forgot, but yeah, I'm definitely trying to get it out there, other than just locally, so to speak. Other than just this North America. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about your team because obviously you referenced before you didn't do this by yourself.
No, no.
Is it the same team on both films?
More or less. There was one person who worked on Moon Men that she didn't come back for the sequel, but everyone else pretty much has been Leonardo Chico, Tasso Magaris, and Tana Cadena Vunier. I mean, they're brilliant. I mean, brilliant artists, brilliant artisans, and I pretty much tell them that if this were like the Middle Ages, they'd be they'd be accused of witchcraft because what they do with their hands, what they create to me is amazing. So it's like it's real magic. So yeah, but it's pretty much the same team as last time, as both films. Yeah.
Sorry, quick segue. I just was watching your films in the background. I just noticed that the Mars people have their own flag. You
Yeah,
gave them.
it's the Martian flag. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just a human thing. Humans are obsessed with but Martians have flags too, I guess.
Well, I guess Martians are people too. I guess so.
Martians are people too. Are they? Yeah.
There's something, I guess. I don't. Maybe not people, but there's something. But yeah, that was the whole idea. That was the whole idea about the joke was that everyone thinks they're going to be the first to do this, and so of
We
course
did this,
Larry is definitely not the first. So.
we do these like Zoom script readings, right? And it was a script, a sci-fi script, and this guy, the writer of the script that we're doing yesterday, went on a 10-minute monologue about how aliens aren't humans, and in all films, aliens are always presented as a version of a human version, and he hated that. And he basically, aliens are not. He's like all mad about it. He's like, in this film, the aliens are not humans.
Well, that's why I mean that what was interesting to me. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie Contact.
Yeah, yeah,
So what I think the movie is brilliant, but what I really think is good about that film is that you don't ever see the aliens.
yeah.
All you see is sort of her version of her father. He kind of becomes the alien, kind of becomes the image of her father. But that's one of the few films where you never really see the alien, and I think that's probably a smart thing to do, because no matter where your imagination goes, and believe me, I love Star Trek, I love all kinds of science fiction. Actually, 2001, you never see the aliens either. Now I think about it, so I think it's kind of left. It's kind of best if it's kind of left to your imagination, because ultimately it just becomes guy with the big head with the big eyes, and it's never it's always pretty much what a human can imagine, and not really what something that could be completely alien and totally something that is something we can't even think about. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, yes, following the tradition of the '50s movies, these aliens had to have the how to have the big heads and the green big eyes and the spacesuits. I thought the spacesuit in this film that Tana made actually was really great. She really did a great job, and you actually kind of see it. It's very reflective and it's very colorful, and you see actually when it turns, it kind of like the light kind of bounces off it in a way that kind of looks very interesting. It's almost like diamonds, kind of like in the costume. And I thought she did a really good job with that with the costumes.
Yeah, amazing. And so, but let's talk about the sound design because that's the key to your film is the sound design, in my opinion. So who did that?
Yeah, so that was, I mean, again, what I pretty much do is I go into this website and, I look up, I mean, it's all basically, generic sounds, it's royalty free kind of
Yeah.
thing. You go in, you sign a release or whatever. And I just look for, I look for sounds. I look for sounds of rockets. I look for sounds of, alien speaking. And, I look for sounds of birds chirping, whatever it is. And then the music. Then obviously I want to find something that sounds kind of heroic, kind of sounds weird and bizarre, like when they actually land on the moon. You got kind of like the theremin sound going on in the background. That's in the intro as well. For the intro credits, I definitely wanted to have a theremin because that's very much in keeping with the '50s, kind of soundtracks. Very, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that was kind of important, And I agree. I think sound is like critical to the making or breaking of a film for sure.
It's setting your tone, right? And so so let's talk about your tone because I'm sure you're having tone meetings in your head or even with your crew, but what's the tone of the film you're trying to portray in
The
both
tone of
films?
the tone of the film is pretty much in keeping with a 1950s sci-fi B movie. So whether I mean, or it could or Looney Tunes. It's actually very much a cartoon. So
Okay.
you have something like Destination Moon, Abbott and Costello Go to Mars, Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. Like all those things are kind of like in my head. I guess that's what the inspiration is. I guess, and it should feel like a 50s sci-fi alien invasion movie. That's Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something. That's definitely where the inspiration is. So that to me, that's what the feel should be, both in visually and in the soundtrack.
And you're modernizing it, like basically you're putting it to the present time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the movie takes place in 1969, so in a
No,
way,
no, but it's also but we're watching it in 2024, right?
of
So
course, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's. I mean, so that's always in the back of my head. There's always inspiration there, and yeah, definitely with the intro, the opening credits. You have there's a starfield. It's the title is in very much sort of comic book font. And you have this kind of like weird sound. That's telling you, okay, this movie is about space. It's about aliens. It's about so you kind of get that from the very beginning. Yeah, I definitely agree with your take on that. Yeah.
well, the guy's brilliant, right, Larry? He bought good a rocket. Now he's got a time machine. He's just the man.
Yeah, I mean, you see that's also one thing I wanted to, as far as like production design. When you see the opening shot of his room, that I mean, since this is the first film, that's why with the second film,
Yeah,
all this is kind of glossed over. You
yeah.
go right into the action. This one, you kind of see his room. Oh, he's actually, he plays the clarinet. There's a clarinet on the TV. He's a big fan of Beethoven. There's a Beethoven statue. There's books all over the place. He's a reader. There's a telescope pointed out the window. There's a globe on, in his room. So you kind of get the sense of where, all you need to know about him just from that one opening shot. He has a blackboard, with
And he's clean. He's clean and tidy. His bed was made and everything. Yeah.
yeah. Well, there was no way for me to actually kind of make that bed too untidy. I definitely know where you're going with that, but yeah, I try to make it look messy though in a way by having the books kind of strewn out all over the place. But
Yeah.
the bed, I guess he made that day. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Okay. So basically, yeah, it's I love this film so much. It's like, and I'm glad you submitted the prequel or the first film,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's really good. I see this. I hope you get what you want. I hope it's a television show. It's just like it's got that touch.
I'm
So
gonna try. I'm really gonna try to push it, and see where it can go. Like I said, especially now that I have the two done. The dinosaur one I just finished this year. So now I definitely have sort of something that I can show. I definitely have a portfolio of films now where it's not just like, oh well, I have this one thing I kind of made. Like I have now it's a series. By definition, it's more than one, so it's a series. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to push it and see, see where it can go from here.
And these things take time, and I'm sure that you have to pay, you have to like, you have to make money as well. These movies don't make money. You have to like, so
Yeah,
these take time, right?
yeah. It's I mean, so far it's all just for the love of the love of the art. That's it. There's nothing. I haven't made a dime off of these movies at all. So which is fine. I mean, it's their personal films, whatever. But yeah, it would be great if if it could become a series and on Netflix or any other streaming service or Amazon Prime or whatever. Who knows?
Then you get a writer's room, and then you guys kind of come up with some stories, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I have the idea for one more for sure.
yeah.
But after that, who knows? Who knows where Larry could go?
Well, I wish you the ultimate best of success. You really great. It's a great proof of concept, but it's also its own standalone short film, and you don't have to watch the first one to get the second one. And that's the arc of it, right? So that's the
Yeah,
brilliance of it. So
yeah, yeah. That's the whole idea was that they're kind of standalone adventures. I mean, if you watch them in order, it kind of makes a little sense, like I said, and that the fact that the first one is sort of like the intro to his character. You see where he lives, you see, with his car, you see whatever.
yeah.
But so if you watch it in order, it kind of makes a little more sense. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely standalone. Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's talk again when the next film is made, or when you're on your way to getting making a series.
All right. That sounds really good, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.